I'm now joined by the voice of the CPCA, Greg Buchanan. Greg, thanks so much for coming on and chatting with me today about chuck wagons.
Thanks for having me again.
Well, of course, the first couple of days of the races this past weekend in Poundmaker were a rough outing because of rain and whatnot. How much of an effect do you feel like that had on the drivers and the riders?
Well, I think that's nothing new to chuck wagon racing. We're kind of at the the mercy of Mother Nature on any given weekend. You throw in the fact that they raced 2 weekends ago in York, and then they had a weekend off, and then you get to Poundmaker, and these horses are a creature of habit. They get to the outfit, they get to the barns, they get to the stables, and they know they're there for a reason. They know they're there to race. So all of a sudden, you tell them Wednesday we're not racing. You tell them Thursday we're not racing. And you know what? Credit to the Poundmaker and the CPCA track committees for coming together, getting that track ready on Friday and racing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Because on Thursday we showed up there, we did a rainout broadcast on the CPCA radio network, and honestly, I couldn't even walk across the track. It was that thick and that soupy. So the work to win in on that track on Thursday night to get ready for Friday is immense, and hats off to them for the simple fact that we were able to race.
Certainly, of course, they did have its challenges this past weekend. But once the races did get going there, just who were some of the drivers and the riders that stood out to you that you were impressed with?
Well, I think one guy that kind of stands out for me is DJ King, and he had a couple of firsts in the weekend. DJ King, the former NHLer, and he wins his first day money on Saturday and then gets into his first dash for cash on Sunday. It didn't work out for him on Sunday. He had a knockdown barrel, but at the same time, here's a driver that's up and coming in the CPCA, and the guy that won the dash is Danny Ringette, another driver that won a day money on Friday and then has a shot at the dash for cash on Sunday. And because of penalties to the likes of Logan Gorse, Luke Tournier, and DJ King, Danny Ringette stayed penalty free, and thus he wins the dash for cash. So again, we talk about this many times in the CPCA. You never know who's going to win day money on a given night. You never know who's going to win a dash. You never know who's going to win a show. And Poundmaker is proof of that.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Danny Ringette, because that was actually going to be the next person I was going to ask you about. He seemed to be the one guy that was consistent throughout that weekend. What did you think about his performance overall?
I think Danny is coming up in the CPCA. It's one of those, we like to call it a young gun, but he knows being consistent is very important, and staying penalty free is very important. And he did that on Sunday to win the dash for cash. But he's one that's been building up his barn and trying to make those strides moving forward. And he made a big stride on the weekend winning that dash. And now he goes to Wainwright, a smaller track, a lot smaller than the previous one in Poundmakers. So here's some challenge for Danny to see what he has here on a shorter track. But again, he's going to be cracking the top 5 right now in the point standings. And, with the likes of Todd Baptiste, with the likes of a Canadian champion, Logan Gorse. So, he's in contention again to win a day money anytime.
Well, of course, you just mentioned about Wainwright, which is where the next set of races are going to be taking place later this week. Who are you hoping to see step up to the challenge there, especially with a smaller track?
Yeah, with a smaller track and a shorter track, they always say there's a won and lost in the barrels, because if you come out of the barrels and you have the lead and you grab that rail, it's really hard for you to make up that real estate that you need on that track. If you get in behind coming out of the infield, then it's really hard to catch up. So anybody that barrels very well, keeps the barrels up, has a shot to win any given night in Wainwright. And a guy like a Todd Baptiste, who's one of the best barrelers in the sport and a former Canadian champion, a high point winner last year, I like his chances. But, there's so many good barrelers out there. Danny Ringette is also developing into a great barreler. Ryan Baptiste, Todd's brother, and then don't count out the likes of Jamie Labicane. Jamie had a real tough weekend, and, it was coming together for him Saturday. He was in contention being that dash. He was in the top 4. Then Saturday night, a rarity for Jamie Labicane, knocks down both barrels, takes him out of that dash for cash. But what does he do the next day on Sunday? He doesn't qualify for that dash, but puts up one solid run to crack the top 5. So look at Jamie Labicane for a little bounce back for him in Wainwright this weekend as well.
Well, it's going to be a very exciting weekend, as the races will be taking place from June 24th to the 26th in Wainwright. Again, Greg, just thanks so much for coming on and chatting with me about chuck wagons. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me once again.